Let's take a look at how we write our introduction for our rhetorical analysis. So we go back to our planner and we look at how we broke down the article with some basic information. And I'm going to use that information to create a very simple introduction of about 100 words. So using once again the First Lady and the Cheeseburger as my example, I know that the author is Julie Gunlock. The title, the First Lady and the Cheeseburger, will be in quotes. The source was from the National Review, a conservative magazine. So my source will always be either underlined or italicized, but never both. If you don't know the occasion, meaning like the reason the author wrote the article, then just simply skip that. I assume that she's writing this because of the photo that came out about Michelle Obama. But if you don't know the occasion, once again, just leave that alone. Not really necessarily refer to it. The audience is going to be conservatives. The purpose should be some kind of verb. So I looked at it as maybe to unify her readers, to see the Obamas as a common enemy to their freedoms, and also maybe to inform her readers of the Obama's hypocrisy. I don't necessarily think that she's trying to persuade her readers, because I think her readers already agree with her. And then lastly is the subject, and that is once again Michelle Obama's health initiatives. I also am going to keep in the back of my mind the central argument, and I'm going to introduce that at some point in my introduction as well. So now when I write my introduction, I have to make sure I include the basics. I want to make sure I include the author, the title, and the source. I want to make sure I include this central argument, as well as I want to make a reference to who the intended audience would be, because that's part of the rhetorical analysis, is understanding why it works for that audience. And then lastly, I also want to make sure that I kind of hint at how my essay is structured on logos, pathos, and ethos. So let me show you what my introduction looks like. It reads, quick to respond to Michelle Obama's recent misstep, Julie Gunlock devilishly pens her article, The First Lady and the Cheeseburger, for the National Review, with wit and sarcasm and undeniable facts. Knowing her audience of fellow conservatives would relish in scrutinizing the scrutinizer of comfort foods, Gunlock builds an effective argument that the Obamas believe that they know what is best for Americans, yet are hypocritical in following their own rules. Using the Obama's own actions, tapping into her readers' anger, and relishing in her own snarky voice, Gunlock strives to rally her audience around a common enemy to their freedoms. So once again, when I introduce her name, I'm going to use her full name first, Julie Gunlock, and then I can use just her last name, but never just her first name. So Julie Gunlock, the article has got quotes around it, and then the source is either italicized or underlined, but never both. I want to make sure I include the central argument and also hint at she's writing to conservatives, that's her intended audience. And then I want to also mention logos, pathos, and ethos. If you're not comfortable with changing that, you can just simply list it as logos, pathos, and ethos. But if you want to, you can be more subtle. I did a more subtle way of writing it. I wrote about the Obama's own actions, which is logic, tapping into her readers' anger, which is the pathos, and her own snarky voice, which is her ethos. So I did it in a more subtle way, but I still want to make sure I include those three appeals.